to say, I think there's interesting and useful comparisons we can make with Israeli settlements. Very, very clearly, they have lots of things in common. The insistence on height, the walls, the exclusivity of transport needed to get there, the theft of water, the willful amnesia.
And the fact it's a government-fueled policy.
Yeah, it's a government-fueled policy to ultimately strangle the population and create a kind of working class that has no way out. And as usual with Israelis, there are lots of sort of nasty lessons one can learn. Because with them, they have built these settlements and they work properly, and they've done what the Egyptian government failed to do, which is create, theoretically viable communities living within them, thinking they're living a happy, sustainable life, but which of course is fundamentally problematic and for all the reasons we know. So when thinking about how to go forward with these, we could look at the lessons from the Israelis, and we can know that firstly, that whatever you do to make them functioning internally, they'll still remain fundamentally problematic because of the foundations on which they were built. But also, similarly, there are things that, if one really, really engages with them and wants to make them into functioning constructions and needs to rehabilitate them, then similarly, things that they do, I mean, they are used primarily as housing for the poor, which they use as the vanguard of their colonial project. So they're very heavily subsidized. There's mostly free education. They are, they're made into a very attractive package for disenfranchised people. So there are both, there are useful lessons, I think, to take from the Israelis on that.
Great. Nadim?
Yeah, I just want to emphasize the distinction between the old southern like and the and new cities like they have. There is actually a very clear distinction. There is a very clear distinction. The Yaqis and Muhandiseen might have been at the onset upper class exclusive cities, but they were never actually physically isolated from lower income neighborhoods. They never had security. There was screening who was going in and out. When the Yaqis was built, and was also built with one of the most successful public transportation projects in the last 100 years in Cairo, the tram that connected the Yaqis to Ramses. So, and if you live in the Yaqis today and over the last 50 years, or in Muhandiseen, you still in your daily life interact a lot with people from neighboring. They're surrounded by lower income neighborhoods. That's definitely not the case with the new satellite cities. Specifically because of the fact that there's no public transportation that connects them, and you have security that's making sure that the right people get in. So I just want to make that distinction clear.
I don't know, a lot of people might not want to interact with low-income neighborhoods when there's mass burning of piles of rubbish.
Speak up a little bit so that we can all hear over here.
When I first arrived to live here, the burning of rubbish and the kind of the wafting smoke from those areas. I mean, you can kind of not blame people to not want to interact with low-income areas. Is it a romantic idea to, I pass by low-income areas all the time, and is that a good thing necessarily?
Yeah, it is. I'm not saying that if I am a resident of the Yaqis, I don't necessarily want to pass by burning piles of rubbish every day. But the fact of the matter is, I have interaction with other communities in my society. So if the daily problems are part of my daily problems, and when these issues, and we can all fix them together. I'm not isolated from that part of society, so I don't have the selfish outlook on the problems that I need to, governance problems that I need to address. And this issue, I mean, this whole trend in suburban development, it might be kind of new in Egypt. But someone mentioned earlier the security problems that the people in Rehab had during the revolution, and that would have been much more exacerbated if this trend had been going on for 50 years, because these people are isolated from them. They don't empathize with them. And so these attacks that these people are complaining about and these security problems would have been much worse. And that's one benefit of being part of having interaction with these communities. Because after all, you're part of one country that suffers from the same government problems.
Great. I think we're going to start to wind it up, and we'll get some final thoughts from Ahmed and Mohamed, and then maybe I'll wrap it up, and we'll go and smoke some shisha.
Just two really quick points. One is about the role of civil society groups and institutions, because you can't just rely on government, even if it's the best representative government, to do everything. You always need civil society, independent civil society groups to do the work, which is why FISA is not going anywhere, because all they have to do is to suppress those groups. those are really essential to any sort of progressive developments, and they've been under attack in Egypt for a very long time. The other thing is the issue about security. Now that I think of it, and now I feel like I'm taking the position of the devil's advocate, even those neighborhoods like Mohandisin and Heliopolis, yes, they didn't have walls with security, but as a matter of fact, the history of the police institution in Egypt is very much tied to, just to be fair, is tied to upper classes. I mean, for example, police stations where they were positioned, it always had to do kind of with a bit of a class boundary. Of course, that wasn't kind of like a conspiracy or anything like that, but there was a relationship between on an urban scale where police stations are and the role of police to sort of secure certain populations more than others. It obviously progressed into much more evil sort of variations. Just to clarify.
I think that as Manhattan started and as Dubai started, they were totally under the spot by urbanists and planners and critics. I think that's the case in New Cairo. It's a new area. It's starting from zero, and it's under the spot now. So again, to the devil's advocate, again, I think we need to accept some stuff and deal with it, because as we're talking now, there are more walls and more concrete is being built. So let's do something with being more positive about stuff there, and we must reject another things so that we think as urbanists and researchers and planners and architects and that it's not good, but let's accept the others.
Excuse me, can I have?
Go for it.
Just because I saw that most of the discussion is going towards the gated communities. The gated communities, as I believe, just a physical manifestation of segregation and division that's being implemented in Egypt over ages. So it's mainly being divided socially, ideologically, and now, just to highlight, it's being military urbanized, or it's beginning to. So we need to just, or the potential of the division is much richer than the potential of the gated communities issue.
Brilliant. So, I mean, the whole purpose of Cairo Divided as a publication, and then again, this debate tonight was not to kind of impose any particular ideological framework, but just to get a debate going about those issues. And I think it's, judging by the amount of raised voices and slightly lost tempers, I think that went pretty well. So I'm delighted. Just to wrap up, I think that, as I said at the beginning, kind of questions of urban space, struggles over urban space, and the extent to which reclaiming agency over urban space ties in with the political narrative of this country at the moment and its political trajectory have never been more important. We focused in Cairo Divided on not just the satellite cities, but as people have pointed out, the kind of gated compounds, the very upper echelons of the social makeup within those satellite cities. And I do believe that that's a key area to explore, but of course the questions are much wider. We haven't talked a lot today about informal settlements, we haven't talked about the use of agricultural land, we've mentioned this stuff. I'm getting a message written for me on the boards, no. So, there's a lot to explore, and hopefully this will be a starting point. I just want to thank CIC and Megawra for hosting this. All of the panelists have been fantastic. Because we're incredibly unprofessional and we publish this very much as a journalistic feature and not an academic project, we didn't credit in there all of the many books that we plagiarised and relied upon massively. But I particularly want to say, if you're interested in these issues, you've probably read them already, but just in case, the Cairo School of Urban Studies, with its 2 volumes, Cairo Cosmopolitan and Cairo Contested, fantastic resources on this. I already mentioned David Sim's book. There's a fantastic book by Salwa Ismail on life in Cairo's urban quarters, and many other kind of Egyptian experts and international academics who have covered these issues. And most of all, I just want to say, even though he's not here, he's probably going to review the tapes, so I better get it in there, that I should thank Jason, who was very much the driving force behind this project. It was his idea, I think out of boredom, because it's a bit difficult for photographers to get work these days, that he started driving out to these neighbourhoods and photographing them. He was the one who put the publication together, and he's done a great job. And so thank you all very much, and hopefully the debate will continue.
Wonderful, you with it.
And Mohamed has said, can you please leave your email if you want to join the CSC mailing list?